And thank you for staying with us. Now, President Bola Tinubu announced during the week that the federal government of Nigeria has saved 1 trillion naira in the last two months since the removal of the petrol subsidy. Tinubu said these monies that would have been otherwise squandered by those he called smugglers and fraudsters will now be channeled into intervention programs targeting families nationwide, while acknowledging the suffering occasioned by an unavoidable delay in palliative measures. He urged Nigerians to look beyond the present temporary pains and aim at the larger picture. Now, still with me to discuss this is Olufemi Lawson, as usual, and the Executive Director, Center for Public Accountability. Now, Olufemi Lawson, very quickly, from the look of things right now, the President highlighted gains of the removal of the fuel subsidy. And he's actually promised to also roll out thousands of commuter buses, to states and local government areas to cushion the effect of the pain. I mean, why is the NLC not realizing that the President means well?
Well, I think while it is commendable that the government is engaging the labor unions, we must also understand that this issue is beyond the labor union. It's an issue that has affected over 200 million citizens, which is far, far above whatever constitutes labor union in Nigeria today. So in taking any decision, the president must be conscious of the overall interest of the larger majority, the ordinary Nigerians, who are also bearing the brunt of the removal of the subsidy. And whatever is going to be done must be seen beyond merely increasing salaries and wages of workers who in the proportion of our population are not in the majority. Good that the labor is championing the cause for palliatives and other things that will relieve the burden of the removal of this subsidy. But in moving forward, the president must also be looking at palliatives that will have far-reaching impact on the citizens. For me, giving out buses, these buses are still going to consume fuel that will be sold at the same 600 naira that we don't want to buy and the like. I think there are other interventions.
But we hear that the buses that will be introduced right now will be the gas-driven.
That is where I'm actually coming. Yeah. Interventions of government must be such that we take away the burden that the removal of subsidy is already putting on the citizens. It must include how government will provide alternative sources of energy for transport, alternative means of transportation. We must be looking at investing more in the railway system. We must be looking at investing more in energy, so that a lot of things that citizens have to do ordinarily, buying petrol, we don't have business doing it. A lot of homes run on generators because the energy sector is not working.
But these examples you're highlighting now are long-term projects. But we are looking for a shorter plan to cushion the effect right now.
In the short term, I don't think there can be any far-reaching decision that can be taken that can have such impact like all these long-term measures that have to be taken by government. It's going to come with a lot of pain, but I think we must begin to look at the reality surrounding this subsidy removal now and look at, on the long run, how do we get relieved of the burden that this has placed on Nigerians? And that is why government must look beyond buying buses or increasing wages and salaries to doing things that are different.
All right, Olufemi, I'll hold you there. All right, Honorable Shitu, are you still there with us? All right, yes. Honorable Shitu, quickly, NLC wants petrol subsidy removal reversed. Is this practicable? Is this possible?
It is not possible. It's not possible. And as a country, when we've taken a decision that will help the country, it's just like when you want to eat egg. You must break it. We must go through what we are going through. The only thing that we need to do is to now, for the few moment that people will adjust to a new life, is for us as a government to be able to now subsidize and then, help in caution. And how do you help? For me, if you ask me, is that it's an ample opportunities that we invest heavily in production. How do you do that? Is to start from our agricultural sector, build our agricultural sector in a way that instead of us importing food, we'll be able to export food. And you can, luckily for us, we can power our rural area. Why we have urban migration is because people cannot stay back in the villages because there's no economic activities. What will give economic activity fast into the society is agriculture, because we're agrarian. Then we look at each of the state bring to a table their own the crops that they can have comparative advantage on. It can be A and B. A are the immediate need of the society, which is staple food, and then the second is to look at cash crop. Let's instead bring up a cash crop that the government can now sponsor. That way, people will move from urban. This is an opportunity to move people from urban to rural area and to improve on our agricultural sector. And in doing that, in giving food to Nigerians, you can also now start talking of processing, which has very long value chain. Because when you start processing, you look from farm to cultivation to harvesting to storage, transportation, to market, and then export. It has long chain of taking.
Time is of essence, so I totally get. I got the last liner. Olufemi, very quickly now. The president also pledged intervention fund for 100,000 MSMEs, startups, amounting to 75 billion. Now, under this scheme, each enterprise promoter will be able to get between 500,000 to 1 million naira at 9% interest per annum. I mean, how do you see this initiative, very quickly?
Brilliant, to the extent that transparency will be involved, to the extent that this will not be like previous interventions of government, which ended up in the pockets of politicians and friends and sympathizers of politicians. The president must devise a means that will make such intervention transparent enough to the extent that the ordinary person on the street of Ketu, on the street of Mokola in Ibadan, on the street of Sabongeri can access these funds without knowing one godfather from somewhere or the other in a transparent manner. This will further boost the confidence of the citizens in the government. Otherwise, this will just be another, national cake that is going to be shared by very few and will be of no impact at the end of the day. And the government will be seen as not have done anything. So the government must look at how this process is administered in a transparent manner to the extent that it will touch the real
core people.
Yes, that actually requires this.
All right, thank you so much for your thought there. Now, and finally, barely 24 hours after its decision to suspend its nationwide protest, organized labor has issued fresh warning that it may declare nationwide strike beginning on Monday, 14th of August, 2023, if its leaders are charged to court for contempt by the federal government through the National Industrial Court of Nigeria, NICN. Now, during the week, after rising from a meeting of its National Executive Council, the NLC demanded the immediate withdrawal of what it described as litigious terrorism by the Federal Ministry of Justice before the end of work on Friday, August 11, 2023. Olufemi Lawson, obviously this is getting a bit escalated right now. It's getting heated already. Now, was it right for the federal solicitor to file a contempt charge against the NLC at this time? I mean, is a protest march the same as going on strike?
I'm not a lawyer, but I clearly understand that whoever has gone to court to file for contempt against the nationwide protest which is a constitutionally guaranteed engagement that citizens can embark upon, is trying to put the government in a very bad light before. And you see, one of the first steps that this government must take is to purge itself of some of these tendencies of the past administrations, tendencies that are anti-democratic, including behaviors like these characters in the Ministry of Justice. There was an order restraining even the labor from going on strike, suspending works, not on protesting. And even this order cannot remain perpetual. If you are gone to court, there should be further steps that have to be taken. And already you are doing this, filing contempt at a time that the administration is engaging these same unions. How do you encourage such dialogue to continue when the president is in the, for the first time you saw a president physically engaging, unlike the past when president have to send ministers and some aides of government to go. Now the president personally is engaging workers and someone somewhere is going to court, out of overzealousness or whatever. But I strongly believe that this government will do the right thing. I'm very confident that even the president is not somebody that is supposed to protest judging by his background. And I'm sure this government will not criminalize protest like those people in the Ministry of Justice are trying to do. Right. So I'm very sure something will be done positively.
Now, you just said now that obviously this the strike the protest was quite democratic.
Yeah, sure.
But now, won't this strike make matters worse for us as a people if they decide to embark on it?
Well, I want to believe we may not get to the point where labor will go on strike, because even if eventually labor leaders are charged in line with what the Solicitor of the General is doing, I think it will just end up as one of those normal exercises in futility. I don't see any substance in this, but I think we don't need to get to that point where, Labour and government will have to go to the battlefield again, all for the purpose of this suit.
Thank you very much. Honorable Shitu, please, are you still there? All right,
Yes,
fantastic. Now, the special advisor to the president on media and publicity, Ajuri, in a recent interview said that some of the demands of the NLC are a bit unrealistic. And he did say that, this administration, they are not magicians. I mean, how do you react to this new development?
For us, our appeal is to the labor union that it's better to sit on a round table and discuss and agree on terms than to go to street. You add more pains to the masses. You can see we have enough in our hand. We are begging them as a leader of the labor workers. They should not plunge people, add into people's suffering. This is time that we need as a people to join hand with the government to be able to move Nigeria. We are the giant of Africa, and we must show examples. We must be able to be matured in implementing our policies. Whatever it is, subsidy removal has come to stay. How we go out of it is what we should be looking at, not going to the street to call for strike or something will add more pain to Nigeria. So we urge them to come back to table with the government, come to terms with reality on ground, and be able to move the country forward. We have, luckily for us, our president is the chairman of ECOWAS. So we have to show that leadership. Why are we believing going to street? We have been going to street since 60s. It has not yielded anything. Rather, it brings more pain. So we must change our style at this time and then join hand to make Nigerian work for all of us.
Thank you.
So it's a challenging
Honorable.
period for both citizens
Thank you, Honorable.
and the government.
Thank you, Honorable. Now, before I let you off the hook very quickly, is Labour asking for too much, demanding for minimum wage of 200,000 naira per month?
Well, even 200,000 naira in Nigeria of today is not a living wage. So I don't think it is too much, but I think we must look beyond increasing wages and salaries to investing more in things that will make even these wages, no matter how little they are, sustainable for people who work and earn these wages. So we must look at structures that has to be put in place as a country that will make life, most importantly, as stated by the Constitution, that will make the welfare of the people very easy and important to the government.
Thank you very much, Olufemi Lawson, for your time. And of course, Honorable Shitu Kabir, thank you very much for coming on the show.